Today we will talk about a very important skill in this market. Buying the FUD, understanding the downside, understanding the upside, and betting on the right people as well. It would be very interesting to actually check out what happened with Brett, what was the sentiment, and who are the people who actually got you out of your positions in Brett. And we will discuss my loan, my 150,000 Brett loan, with a very stupid entry point. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and let's actually start. First of all, I wanted to say a couple words about Crash. I fucking love Crash. I never said a bad thing about Crash. I was only saying some things about Brett in the first place. But I do believe a man should be judged not by his words but by his actions. And the action that I did, I actually loaned $150,000 of Brett at the peak, at the fucking peak of FUD. I was called a scammer, I was called as someone has got paid, I was called a faggot, and all these nice names. I've done what I did. Unfortunately, I did not get paid for it, but you might say that I was paid by the market, because what is the percentage of fucking degenerates who would actually loan a Memecoin in the peak FUD, especially with this amount of size in the first place? It's quite interesting how market is appreciating the actions that are not being executed by the largest portion of the market. That's why I'm saying that if you're constantly just concentrating the sentiment, concentrating the market, you will probably have a pretty nice win rate in the first place. Last but not least, this is Sunday video. We will be doing a reaction on the video of a guy I love very much. I love this person with each and every cell of my body. And the reason I actually will be doing reaction on this person in the first place, because my usual reactions people unfortunately get upset about. They want to put me in jail, they want to kill me. We will not be doing that, right? We will be do reactions on the guy who probably won't like to kill me, right? We'll be doing a reaction of my video, and we will also check out some comments. Guys, unfortunately, comments are public property, so I can't actually comment on them because you left them under the video, right? So we will actually check them out as well. Let's start. I just bought $150,000 worth of Brett. I've done this with leverage. Here are my loan positions open. It would be very interesting to actually check out the chart of Brett at the same time. I bought $150,000 of it, right? 28th of April. 28th of April. When was it, right? Right here. So I pretty much entered, because I entered local top at 0054. Like, you cannot enter any higher at that time. And it was peak FUD. It was this FUD, it was this bounce, and we were definitely going down. And I entered my loan right here. And by the way, I closed it partially, but here are $164,000 in profit that I still have here, right? $1,000 in margin, and this position is $108,000. I was actually entering at 0.054, and this position on Maxi I have is $35,000 with $12,000 in margin, just because of the fact Maxi does not allow you to actually open. It's not very interesting, right? You were building credibility early. You look different to most of the other crypto influencers. Now you have just joined them. The meme space is like YouTube's version of the Muppet Show. First you made your followers selling bread so that you can buy cheaper. Wow, what a cool guy you are. Have I made you sell bread? And if I actually made you sell bread, you probably sold at a nice market cap. And you probably have re-entered back with me. Kind of nice market cap. Obviously, you could have sold higher, you could have entered lower as well. It's just very interesting to check out these comments now. Check out them now, right? Open up a larger position in the first place. If you can actually check out the chart, I was entering at the local top 0054 at this stage. Very stupid entry. If I would be entering at the close 034, I would have way more profit. Of me recording it is actually a local top, and as you can see, I'm also But I just want to explain the thought process. I just want to explain the thought process. I just want to understand the downside. And I want, because it's a very, very interesting case of crypto investment. I'm not an insider. I'm not the person who's connected to the project. I'm pretty much just market participant. And it's a very, very interesting case here.
Quite down currently, 7k down already, 7 to 8k on this exchange, and around 2k on this exchange. And on this video, I will explain to you why the guy who was telling you yesterday that he will be buying bread at 50 to 70 million dollars market cap actually
did not happen.
Entered a 150k long position.
But you see, I understood that day that it probably won't be happening. So I kind of followed in back, all right? But I was able to understand that we probably won't be seeing a 50 to 100 million because there are too many people who would actually be looking to buy into this thing.
And local top of bread token. What type of thought process I actually have in my end? What do I plan for this token? What I think will actually be happening moving forward? Let's dive in. Buying 150k of bread, am I insane? Notice as well that I'm using my 3x leverage strategy. I would like to start with this thing that I was showing recently yesterday. Wow, shitcoin charting works, let me buy. Shitcoin charting is a scam. When you control 80% of the supply, market makers can actually chart anything. I won't be buying. I am following best deceivers and making money. I was saying on this channel in multiple videos, I was saying that bread is shady for months and I was not entering a position myself. At this stage, I do believe that shadiness got priced in by the market and bread is recovering very.
This is such an important thought in the first place. Shadiness priced in by the market. This is because I'm essentially showing this in the video several times as well. You need to understand that you need to make sure when you're entering something, what type of downside this thing actually have in the first place. Because pretty much once you're entering after a peak FUD, after like, let's say, many days or months of negative price actions and then peak FUD and capitulation, there is no fucking better entry point for any type of project in the first place. This is just peak crypto investment. It's not like peak crypto investment and just peak investment in the first place, but just in crypto we are much more often exposed to FUD in connection to different projects.
Very nicely, especially considering the fact that bread was dumping with the help of the shorts. With the shorts opened, and all this thing pretty much looks like a coordinated attack in the first place. The guy just shorted. They were waiting specifically for leverage to actually appear for this token on the exchanges.
This is a very, very important lesson as well. If you know that there are some tokens that are shady in the first place, where maybe some people are hated or they control like a large amount of supply and things like that, you need to always be very, very careful when perpetuals are opened. Because from market point of view, there is zero reasons to actually FUD the project when you cannot short it. But when you can short it, like this all FUD, coordinated FUD that happened on bread was very, very smart in the first place. It was coordinated by a group of people. They definitely entered a bunch of shorts. They definitely made a bunch of money through this FUD. And smartest of them, and I would definitely say that some of them, they actually did that. They bought this thing at the bottom or they longed it from the bottom, which is very, very interesting in the first place.
So they shorted, they started to FUD, they made some nice money. I'm definitely sure on that. Right now at this stage, I do think that shadiness got priced in. And following this fact, we kind of can understand that market is pretty interesting currently. 80% dump with a bunch of people dumping. Some of them, they were just in panic mode. They don't understand anything. Others probably were dumping because they understood that first guys will probably be dumping. Therefore, the price of the whole thing will be going down. Therefore, they would most likely be able to re-enter lower. Maybe some of them were.
It's a very, very interesting thought because a lot of people are not selling because of the fact that they are scared. You need to understand this. They are selling because they're playing on a different level. They do understand that if this is the asset where a bunch of retail players got invited to buy through the channels of influence and attention, where there are a bunch of retail players in the first place, they do understand that through this FUD, these type of people would probably be selling. And if they were buying higher, or if they even were buying lower and they just in crazy profits, some of them, they would sell because they would understand that if the whole market would be consistent of people like them, more experienced people, the token will not give a shit in the first place. But since a bunch of retail players were invited into this token, they would be selling on this FUD. And that's why they're essentially selling in expectation for these retail players to sell, for the whole thing to go down and rebuy. So essentially for free acquire a large amount of tokens. It's quite risky in the first place. You should be doing that if you know trading, but essentially in general it's an easy psychological public sentiment trade in the first place as well. With the amount of FUD that Brett was receiving, it was quite easy to understand this, I would say, in the first place.
Then we're actually entering shorts and we're making money on it. Currently, I do think that shadiness actually got priced in. I do agree with the fact that each and every successful project, unfortunately, has insiders. And even following like things that I'm saying about Sui, for example, the reason I'm saying that
shadiness got priced in. This is very important. Shadiness got priced in. The whole thing bottomed. That's why the current market cap of it is 1.6 billion. It's just crazy to understand these things.
saying that it's actually going to do well this cycle is because it's a pure VC pump and dump coin, same as Solana of last cycle. Sui is Solana V 2.0 of this cycle.
Speaking of Solana, it's quite funny how straightforward they are printing the chart. Maybe not currently, but before in the current cycle as well, they are printing the chart exactly to adhere to all the FIB levels, to all the levels that retail traders are trading according to. They're just so funny in the first place.
This cycle. And we have the same type of thing happening in the Memecoin, and for some reason we actually decline to believe that. And I don't want to follow these things if they're happening in.
Yeah, so it's just this thought, oh, I think this thing has insiders, so let's sell. Each and every fucking altcoin you're buying has insiders. My big time loan is actually not doing very well currently because of the reason that the market cap of this garbage actually increased, despite the fact that the price went down, right? And the main reason for that is because fucking tokens got unlocked and they diluted the price. Market cap increased, price decreased. Fucking VCs, right?
In meme space, if they're launched by some type of VCs or by some type.
But this is my mistake because I did not check this out in the first place. I did not check out and I decided to loan right before the unlock, right?
Of influencers that are essentially not know anything about the space, like they will not be able to attract the right audience. And here I'm betting on the winners. I'm betting on Crash as well. I do think that Crash will be.
This is very important. Well, we are only at minute 4 of this video. It's probably going to be long one. This is very important. You need to bet on people who are winning. And it's very important for people that you bet on that once they are rich, they won't be stopping, right? Because there would be a bunch of people this cycle who would make the money and they will chill out, right? Crash proved already that he is more about the glory, right? About public trade of this thing in the first place. It's very important to actually bet on these type of people in the first place.
Will be one of the best performance traders and chillers and influencers of this cycle with everything that he's doing with all the meme coins. He went very nicely through this recent FUD, and all of his picks are doing quite well at this stage.
It's very important as well because we are not at the peak degeneracy at this stage, and at the peak degeneracy definitely Memecoin should be doing quite well. And some of you might say that I am exercising the behavior of degenerate already. Guys, I'm just front running the market. Degenerates will be making the largest amount of money once we are in degenerate mode for the full market, because whole market will be listening to degenerates. No one would be fucking interested in your soy boy clean type of talk, trying to sound like a business and things like that. No one would fucking care about these things once we are risk on. Right now, everyone is a pussy, right? That's why I'm kind of viewed differently. And I do understand that the way I'm kind of behaving and presenting myself might not attract certain type of people currently. That totally makes sense. Safe investors, people who will heavily underperform this market. You need to be bold, you need to be a degenerate. You need to accumulate now. We had this dip, so what? We are at the start of the liquidity cycle. Liquidity is going up. There is no other way long term.
And I do believe that he will keep attracting people into buying meme coins because he's essentially the most influential person in the meme coin space at this stage. The only reason it was able to pump was due to insiders holding. JITs would JIT long time ago. Yeah, things don't go up from 3 million to 850 million if they don't have insiders holding, because if it would just be a free distribution coin with team that don't know how to manage things properly, they will probably just sell at a certain stage, or maybe team will be selling at a certain stage. And don't get me wrong, I do think that team of Brad and insiders, they were definitely selling in the range from 500 million to 800 million. And it's kind of
several very important thoughts. In the first place, when the DEF holds large percentage of supply, it's actually bullish if DEF is rich, right? Bread team execution was very, very nice. They are farming the liquidity pools. They're doing all the right things with all the exchanges, connections to all these influencers. It actually was kind of obvious in the first place that they're quite strong, because yeah, all of these connections, it just turned out that someone like Crash actually able to attract more liquidity and do better job than people with the audience of hundreds of thousands doing their things for many, many, many years on the market. It's very, very interesting that Crash essentially outperformed everyone, because this thing was given to like most of the influencers. It's very, very important to actually see and understand this.
Kind of smart thing to do if you control the token as well, because if you control the token, you don't want the average Joes, average players on the marketplace actually take liquidity, take profits from you. If you see that there is certain weakness on the marketplace, or that if your token is actually going to start to correct, you would want to take this liquidity first to actually be able to pump this thing moving higher. Because if
this is a very, very, very important thing. So when you are essentially a project and your thing is going up and you see that it pretty much had topped, you need to take profits yourself. You don't want to allow for the public to actually take profits, because they will take these profits, they will use it for like stupid stuff, right? You will be taking profits, you will be using this liquidity to pump the project further. And I think Bread team was actually doing that, and essentially influencers like top people, maybe Crash around Bread as well, at the highs of 500 to 800 million. They actually need to do this as a proper project. It's very, very important to be able to take the profits the first, sooner than your holders would actually be able to take profits.
Because if average Joe from the marketplace just takes your liquidity, you will not have enough liquidity to pump these things moving higher. And as mentioned, the main thing is that we have to focus on the survival. We have to focus on actually making sure that things that we invest into, they will be able to survive till retail. And this is actually one of the main reasons of why I also decided to buy into Bread at this stage. One of the main points that I would actually cover at the end. Additional info I might have is up.
It's so important as well. Things that will be surviving, they will be receiving crazy amounts of liquidity. That's why on one of my videos I was saying that probably my biggest fate of this cycle would be closing longs for my meme coins. I closed my Pepper long, which was a huge mistake, and I partially closed, I think I closed half of my Bread long, which I ultimately gave away to the market already through the liquidations that I got, like $90,000 worth of liquidations, right? This is the ultimate mistakes, these are. But I'm content, I'm happy that in case of Bread, I did not close the full loan, that I still have my loan and I will still be making this money, right? And we need to understand that the asset that will be surviving, they will be receiving crazy, stupid amounts of valuations. Stupid amount of liquidity.
It's up all info, in my opinion. I might get to know a thing or two about this token. We have Luke Belmar buying the deep. I was sure that there is a high chance that both Tate brothers, they might be holding Bread and Toshi as well, through certain people who are connected to this token and to them in the first place. And coverage from a guy like this.
No comments on this one.
In the retail part of the market, there's definitely something bullish. Not speaking about Crash and all the people who are already involved. These are people that are actually capable to direct liquidity in these meme markets in the first place, because unfortunately we see that tokens of most of the FUDers, they're not doing very, very well at this stage. So they're definitely doing less of a nice job from point of view of directing liquidity actually. And this is
tokens of most of the FUDers are not doing very, very well. They're doing less of a great job on directing liquidity into their tokens. Very, very interesting.
Something I'm just following, I'm just trying to win on the marketplace, right? We have to bet on winners, cut, and the losers. So this is something very, very important as well. I do believe that if this thing was able to sustain for this amount of FUD, it's being traded currently at a certain level. I do believe we might be entering certain consolidation, might be forming a wedge, right? But we definitely see that it sustained the dump, it went up, and right now maybe some people who bought the dip here because they're scared in the first place, they're probably selling, they're taking profits on their 2 axis, and people like me, they're essentially entering and buying. Because for me, you can see these.
Yes, they were definitely selling, and this is one of the huge mistakes that I've done, because I was buying like right here at 54 and people were selling, and so it was essentially a reaccumulation. People who got like afraid of the FUD, they got tired of seeing the bag down, they were selling, and other people, they were essentially buying, taking positions, and we went as low at 0.003. On the charts on the exchange, I saw 0.029 even. And it's very, very interesting. It's one of the mistakes, psychological mistakes that I essentially done in the first place. Because we definitely went through a certain market correction at that time. I think I was not expecting that, but at the time it was quite obvious, right? It was the cause for this thing to go lower. And I was not expecting that people are so scared in the marketplace. I was not expecting this consolidation, but this consolidation is a very, very healthy thing in the first place. For some reason, I thought that we'll just surge up right after that and move up right after that, because everyone would understand that big FUD happened. There is nothing else that can be happen moving forward. But I underestimated the time that people actually need to understand this information and act on this information. And this was time capitulation, like right here, from essentially from end of April till mid of May, right? People were selling here due to time. It's very, very important in the first place. And a bunch of people who sold here, they wish they never sold, right?
This as like a leverage position, right? But it's actually a spot position, just with a chance of liquidation, because I do plan to hold this thing for a very, very long time. And if we would be going lower, I would just plan to add.
I said that and closed half of the bread loan
at some margin. You know, just a couple weeks ago, I got liquidated out of $100,000 with my altcoins.
Hey Stan, a couple days ago, I got liquidated out of $90,000.
Positions, right? Right now, I'm just a Memecoin trader. And not a very, very bad one. Here is my Pepe loan with $166,000.
Shit, it was still opened. Man, it hurts. It hurts.
$1,000 in profits at this stage. I called this loan publicly the day before it actually started to pump and doing crazy, crazy numbers on the market.
Yeah, it was just a crazy call. Crazy, crazy call in the first place.
Marketplace. So let's see if this bread thing will actually be aging somewhat similar eventually, right? And interesting thing is that most of the guys who were shilling bread, they were probably insiders or they got into very, very early, and that's why they were doing that. Me on this channel, unfortunately, I did not receive anything. I would honestly love to, but these are just my actions, how I'm viewing the situation, how I'm using the information that I have, and what I am doing based on that. And believe me, I would be way more happier if I would actually be entering this loan way down here, somewhere at 002. Yesterday when I was recording my videos, right?
Yeah, this was a generational entry, but it's risky in the first place. So like when you're entering on this peak FUD, you'll probably be taking this move from 0.3 to 0.54. And you'd probably be closing your loan because you would understand that the chart will essentially revert moving further as well. I think that not a lot of people who actually entered the loan at the peak bottom at 0.03 during the first dump, they actually held through the loan. Not a lot of people, like 100%, because a lot of them thought that this thing will go lower. And when you're entering during this like accumulation and capitulation due to time, for the holders of the token, that's just easier in the first place because you don't have this pump and dump. It's just psychologically easier,
right? Or even later in the day, 0036, 0038, my liquidation would be below this local bottom. I would be doing very, very well. Based on chain summer, plus don't have any exposure to base. Based exposure, largest meme. Yeah, so currently I do not have any exposure to base, and you might
except cute candle cat, right? CCC.
Say it's nice. It's actually quite nice to get 150k worth of exposure to the largest meme token on base at this stage, to the meme token who is forming this type of hero's journey, with people still buying it after the dump, with exchanges still listing it, with this token showing crazy amount of volumes as well. And I was showing the post from James Wynn on the fact that he was saying that exchanges are going to delist bread, and it seems like it was just shit posting, and right now James is already pumping new.
Yeah, the guy is wrong on memes. He was also saying that Bob is going to zero. And several hours before the pump, he mentioned that it's breaking down, he's going to get ugly, things like that. But he has several $1 million in Pepe, so you can't talk shit. You can't be wrong if you were, like, I believe like he bought like 3k worth of Pepe very, very early or something.
New meme token which called Monkey, and I'm just scrolling down, it's already like 20 posts on Twitter and he's just pumping this monkey stuff. Probably he will dump it right away, it's so crazy. But the thing I actually want to
he's a famous dumper as well.
Share with you is the fact that he shared that he entered a 7-figure bread short and he cannot believe that people are that stupid. I actually do believe that he already either closed it because he's showing 0042 here, and 7-figure loan, I don't believe that he was entering it with large margin. I believe he might have got liquidated already. It's actually very, very bullish in the first place as well, because people are still buying this coin because they understand what will be happening, because they understand that largest influencer on YouTube will probably continue to push this thing going up. Crash is doing well through all this FUD as well.
Yeah, you have to understand these things as well. We always like in a very, very like shaky industry with no morals and things like that. But when the token was at the largest shows, at the largest channels of largest influencers in the space, and they're not doing that because like they're just doing that because like they don't have anything. Most likely they receive allocations. Most likely they have certain agreements with the team as well. They cannot just let it like dump. They can't let it dump if they're speaking about like 10 15 tokens and no one cares essentially in the first place. But in this case it pretty much just was too big. Like it would be too damaging to the it just easier to pretty much buy this thing out or just let it die slowly, right? So people would forget about it over time.
Well, supporting the project too. And right now, with all the mindshare, with all the things that are happening, it's like it's actually hundreds of millions of dollars opportunity for him in the first place, especially if he has supply that he is not showing on his public wallet, which he probably actually has. Only entering bread because leverage is enabled. Would never be doing it on spot. Won't be satisfied with position size. So let's say I would be putting this 50k at the absolute bottom.
That's a very, very important thought as well, that I would never be entering bread since I missed it, if there was no leverage. It was a hard trade, you might say, because I had to add like a bunch of margin. I had to sit in like a long, very, very long process of the whole thing going down and just me having an option to get liquidated. I had to add like $40,000 of margin. I think at the peak it was a $90,000 position with 40,000 in margin and 50k initial loan margin, right? But essentially I won with this one, right? We will see what will be happening, but currently it's not doing bad at all.
Bottom, right? At 002, 0026, I would have like 100k out of this 50k. So what? It's still a very, very small position in the first place. Even if I would have 100k currently with 50.
Yeah, it's very, very important that if I would be putting 50k at the lows on spot, I would probably have lower profit than I even have currently, right?
50k and 3x leverage, I have a 150k exposure to bread, which I definitely like better than the size if I would just be entering with 50k in the first place. I would never be entering bread if leverage was not enabled because I would just not be satisfied with my position size, knowing the size of the positions that all the other guys essentially have in the
smart guy
industry. Between all the influencers, between all the guys who are holding bread in the first place. So the fact that leverage was enabled is essentially the factor for me to be entering this thing. Obviously, I would definitely be more eager to be entering this position at the absolute low, 002, but unfortunately it didn't happen. I didn't do it. I thought different, like thought process was not complete at that stage, and I kind of fumbled it yesterday evening as well. Leverage added for a token. What happened to Pepe recently? Coinbase perpetual. So we all know that recently leverage was added for Pepe, and Pepe essentially pumped from this like 005 to 0073 situation. And in general, I do believe that when you're adding leverage to the token, it's definitely a positive thing long term because we're in general in the bull market, and most people they still tend to long. I don't believe that you short a lot if you cannot come up with a coordinated attack to dump the price of something. So you would.
It's a very, very important thought as well because we're in the bull market, and it's a general consensus that it's easier to long. Like only people who short, they're probably like more professional traders. There are definitely like smaller amount of them. Therefore, like each and every one of them is probably making more money. I do believe that market makers, they're just milking this market on the shorts. Like through this dump that are just happening, they're just milking the market heavily, right? And it's definitely a very, very small amount of shorters. But as a consensus, in the current situation of the market, it's definitely more acceptable to long. And when you add leverage trading in current bull market and the current type of situation, it will definitely pump the token and essentially assets higher. This is just the thing that we have to understand. Short term, people might short, people might FUD. Long term, it will probably go up. It's a very, very important type of thought process and the result of the thought process we all have to understand in this market.
We would actually be making money on it. One other thing that kind of pushed me as well is
and the fact that leverage trading is like enabled as well. It's not kind of very, very easy to do, so it also shows kind of the competence of the team in the first place, I would say.
Very final thing, effort.
It's quite interesting if the team of Brad essentially coordinated the FUD themselves and shorted bread themselves, and at the same time they were taking profits. So they were selling into the FUD, making money on the short, and then buying out supply of people who were selling due to the capitulation due to time. That would be just like a perfect fucking implementation. And for some reason I think they might have been doing that, because for like even average market maker, it's not that hard to do. When you control the supply of the token, when you have a bunch of supply, that's a very important thing to do in the first place. And in this case, like the only people who are losing are like general market, retail, maybe some holders if they sell, because they essentially get punished if they sold, right? But it's a very interesting thing. I would be doing that, honestly. If I am the team of Brad, if I have a bunch of experience in the markets, if I know that there is something that might get FUDed, I would just coordinate the FUD myself. I would sell into the short, and then I will force time capitulation, and I would be buying even more supply from people who would be selling to push this thing even higher. Because the reason this thing is going higher is because people are not selling. The reason people are not selling is because no one have fucking supply. The reason no one has fucking supply is because they probably were able to buy the fucking supply at the bottom due to time capitulation. And the money that they were able to buy the supply with are the profits that they probably were taking at 500 to 800 million market cap. And if they shorted the whole thing on top and they were selling into the short, this is just a fucking group of geniuses in the first place, right? And I would say that it's pretty high chance that they were doing that.
Community, we just threw our best FUD at it and it's already recovered. Kind of a beast response, can't lie. I'm pissed. This is something I like as well, because, man, if something like this is happening, sometimes you just have to bet on the winners. And what it shows to me is that holders of Brad, they're probably not looking to eat each other. And I do think that the main reason for that is because I think that they were heavily taking profits from 500 million to 800 million.
It's also very important about mindshare, because even after the FUD, it had the mindshare. And even currently, because I'm in different chats, people definitely have, like, Brad is living rent-free in the minds of a bunch of market participants, Toshi holders, and a bunch of other people who were buying, who were fighting it in the first place.
I think that was the time where they were taking profits heavily, and I think that this white crash was such in euphoria, having 5 strawberry smoothies in one take, because I think he was taking profits on several $100,000 a day, or maybe even millions.
I hope they were taking profits, and I think they were taking profits because they were able to push this thing like 4, 5, 6 times higher, right? They were actually able to do that, to push it from that levels. And I think the main reason is because they actually were able to buy more supply based on the profits that they were taking. Because like this local top, like Brad was at around 800 million for quite some time. It was for months there. And the reason something is staying on the same level is because some people are buying and some people are selling. And it's just a great fucking execution in the first place. Once Brad top, expect the same thing essentially happening. If you would be seeing Brad being at the same levels for quite some time, no one knows what will be happening after that, because we might get different market conditions, and this thing definitely corrected because the market corrected, right? But definitely smart fucking execution.
A day, if he essentially has other backs with the whole things, and probably like team members, they were taking some profits. And this is something you actually want to see as well, because it was definitely a stage where a bunch of retail were funneled into the token. I was telling not to buy from like 400 million. I was telling don't buy this thing because it's a bit shady. It probably go down, which happened. Unfortunately, I did not enter at 80% deep, but you can actually see that I still entered at 40% deep, which is obviously not ideal. I would love to be entering at.
You have to be content. Yeah, it was not ideal. Yeah, it could have made more money. Be happy that you made any money, right?
75% deep, but some things on the market, they just led me to understand, like my thought process led me to the fact that I don't think that we will actually be going significantly lower from these levels. Obviously, if market will be turning to shit, and if we won't start to dump for a large amount of time, something like this might be happening.
Interesting that market went to shit, but they were able to hold the floor. The reason they were able to hold the floor is because they most likely were taking shit ton of profits at the 800 million level. It's very easy for them to hold the floor because the sell pressure, like people don't have supply. If people don't have supply, they can't sell. You can draw anything on the chart. Man, it's just a very like, they might be milking hundreds of billions this bull run with this thing. It's just so smart. It's so fucking smart in the first place.
Happening short term, I don't expect this, and that's why I'm entering my loan as well. I believe they will not be dumping on me and you. but on retail. This is actually the main
Very, very important. Listen to what this guy have to say. And listen to this guy commenting on what this guy have to say. Two guys that are speaking very, very interesting things.
that pushed me into entering the loan at this stage. And I would like to essentially focus on it. I have a full overview and I would like to explain, to do some explanation and some things. The Dumpage scenario, the case where they actually might be dumping on you and me. If they will decide to dump lower to get all the tourists out, scoop up at the bottom and pump back higher. So this is something that you have seen in a lot of meme tokens in the bear market, specifically BOBA as well. They essentially dump the price of the whole thing. They force people to capitulate due to price.
Speaking about BOBA, when it was pretty much dumping from like mid of the summer till mid of winter, like for 6 months it was pretty much just dumping with some breakout, but eventually it was dumping.
And then due to time, because BOBA,
and the main reason for that is because Pepe was pretty much doing the same thing.
was at the bottom at like,
so like current holders, they were selling into each and every breakout, and at the same time the market conditions definitely were not there because Pepe eventually pumped only when ETH pumped. So these things, they need market conditions in the first place.
8-10 months. Most likely what they were doing in the meantime, they were just buying out the supply of the whole thing to be able to pump it even higher. They only need to do this if they don't control enough supply. Doubt that. So this is something that we have to understand as well. Bread team will actually only need to do this if they don't have enough supply to pump this thing moving higher. And I really doubt that at that stage, because I do believe that they were taking profits heavily between 500 and 800 million. I don't believe that they were dumping much in the current dump as well. I believe they were just holding, and I believe they have enough supply to be able to pump this thing moving up, moving higher, moving forward as well essentially with the support of all the influencers that still hold the supply, with all the guys who are pro-bread and kind of participate.
Yeah, they don't need influencers, they just need crash, and for the crash it's a home run pretty much. And I do believe that they were not only dumping the supply at the bottoms, they were definitely not doing that. They were pretty much just buying out, holding the floor. It's just so crazy to understand and to see, right? Great fucking execution. What to add here?
Participating in this token in the first place as well. Risks for them. If it will be happening quick, other smart players on the market will scoop up bottom. Bad for them. So if they would actually decide to dump this thing significantly lower, with more people selling and with retail like leaving this thing completely, it will definitely expose them to other big players, smart players, essentially scooping up the bottom as well, because they would probably understand what is happening, right? And it will probably lead to them to not being able to pump this much. It will probably lead to the fact that these bigger players will essentially be dumping when they will be trying to.
How fucking smart this guy is. Like, I just wanted to say the same thing and he just said it.
Burn liquidity to actually pump this thing up, and they will be blocking the whole way to move this coin up, right? Move the chart up. And it's very important, because when you're controlling the token by yourself, you definitely want to be a couple steps ahead of the general public, right? That's why.
So the reason something like this was essentially happening on BOBA and was allowed to happen on BOBA is because we were in the bear market. No one cared about the Ethereum memes in the first place until Pepe surged. And it was definitely a hard hold, and a lot of people are definitely sold into Solana memes and things like that. Some of them may be doing well, most of them probably doing way worse in comparison. They would just hold, right? And the reason BOBA was able to pretty much just dump the chart and not do anything is because we were in the bear market and people were not buying, right? Here in the bull market, what would be happening with bread? With all the smart people understanding all the situation, with all the influencers, things like that, yes, they will just, if this thing would be dumping heavily, they would just buy out the supply in the bottoms, and they're not the team of bread. Most of them, they won't be looking into like dump on retail. Most of them, they will dump into the first pump, like right now, right? And we would never be seeing current numbers. The reason we are seeing current numbers is because no one the fuck have the supply in the first place. All the supply is concentrated in the hands of the team, market maker, because they're fucking smart, because they were buying out the supply at the bottoms using the profits that they took at the tops, right? And right now they're pushing this thing using this gas. And if they would be dumping this thing initially way lower than 300 million market cap, other people would be able to buy larger supply and they will dump it into the pump. So the pump would never happen. And essentially the team and the market maker, they would be losing money.
That's why you would want to be taking heavy profits at the stage of 500 to 800 million market cap for bread. That's why I don't want to dump it too much. That's why currently you might want to, if you don't have enough supply, you might just leave it at consolidation. Or maybe some people might actually capitulate due to time, so the chart will even go lower, right? And you would scoop up somewhere there. But other people on the market, they understand that the team is professional. They understand that execution is very, very nice. Therefore, probably they won't essentially allow for this thing to dump very, very much, because the fact that was happening.
Shit, the guy's just saying the same thing that I said. Like, he's so smart.
I don't believe larger FUD happening. All the additional info that I know that I want to be sharing in this video and probably publicly as well, from my point of view, I think it's actually a bullish information in the first place, right? And I'm definitely entering this thing with more risks currently. But if you would like to get spot exposure.
See, I even got to like partial insights that it might be bullish, right? And I got hate in the comments. We'll check out the comments. No biggie, because you left them, right? You did not delete them. So I can and I will check them out.
It's essentially up to you. I'm just sharing the information on this channel. This will require capitulation to time, similar to what happened on Boba, right? So Boba was...
The level of analysis here is just like, I am enjoying it. Like, I don't know, guys. I'm watching and I'm fucking enjoying it.
Capitulating to time with more and more people selling it, and the team probably scooping up the supply just to pump the whole thing once they had a large amount of supply. Depends on the market heavily. If we reverse, they will have plenty of time. If it will be quick, we'll get scooped up by smart people in the market. So,
but even if the market would reverse and we would have like gone into the large correction, right? And other people would have been able to scoop out the supply at the bottoms. If the team of Brett won't be able to scoop the supply, won't be able to hold the floor, right? If they would run out of money. In this case, it actually easier for them to launch a new token because they don't need a shit ton of random players holding the supply of the token. Because this way they have to spend way more capital to push this thing up, because these people would actually have to supply to sell, and they will be selling into the pump.
That's one of the things that I see, is because if the market will essentially be reversing and we will be going down for like sideways section for many months, for example, they will definitely have time if they would just dump the whole thing currently, right? They will have plenty of time for people to capitulate, to scoop out the supply and things like that. Again, they only need to do this if they don't have enough supply moving forward. I think they have plenty. And if
he was right, but probably at that stage they had less supply than they have currently, because they probably acquired more supply during this time of capitulation due to time in the first place, like right here, right? They probably were acquiring supply. Maybe they're selling currently, but I don't think that, because obviously they do understand market very well. I do think that they do expect the pump in the market as well. They're showing strengths in pumping this thing currently to show the market the strengths as well. It causes FOMO. In general, people are flexible, so they will act based on the performance of the market. But even with us during like this video, like I'm up $15,000 in just 10 minutes that I'm recording this video, right? It's just crazy.
If it would actually be quick, because we're in the bull market, people want to buy, people believe that things will go up. That's why this dip is actually quite short in the first place as well, because people are eager to buy when they see the opportunity moving forward as well. So if this type of dip, if they would essentially dump even more, what they would essentially do, the team of Brett, they will just give their own supply, their own tokens to smart people in the market who would just buy out the supply through the short dump, which is not a smart thing to do for Brett team in the first place. And following the fact that I think execution was pretty nice, I think they understand these things. I think they will also not be doing that. And last but not,
how fucking right this guy was. Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine? They did exactly that. Like how great this analysis is actually is. Like it's just crazy. Like he's right in each and everything that he's saying. It's crazy. It's just crazy to see currently. Like I tend to forget my videos like over time, but it's just crazy. It's crazy level of analysis, crazy things that he's saying. Like, but not least, harder for them to pump higher if they will dump it to very low levels, as we are in the bull market and not in the bear. Will be a very bad sign for the token project as well. If, let's say, they are dumping to like lower levels, like sub 100 million at this stage, they let it. At the same time, you can say that they kind of dumped to quite low levels because it was an 80% correction. Like if they would go to like 50 million market cap, just like 95% correction, which is not very healthy, I would say.
A bunch of people to acquire their supply.
80% is fine.
Which they don't want in the first place, because you don't want a lot of like random people who are not insiders actually have a lot of the supply of your token. You want the least amount of people possible. If you actually,
it's very important thought. You don't want to have like random people who are not insiders or your supply of the token. You want to connect whales. You want to be able to talk to whales, because they need to understand what will essentially be happening with the project. They need to have this common belief. They need to have something to stick to, not to essentially dump on the whole thing in the first place. They need to understand like what will be happening next and things like that. If they are essentially like lower qualification type of holders. Some whales they're just people who have a lot of money, but they're not like kind of too efficient, proficient, experienced in these markets, right? Because if you are holding one of the like winning meme tokens currently, right? Like holding them is the only thing you actually need to do, because if the token is winning currently, there is a very, very high chance that it will continue winning moving forward. It will essentially get appreciated in value, right? Through the dips, through all these things. And yeah, whales, they definitely need to get communicated the information about what will be happening next to increase their confidence to actually hold the thing.
Actually planning to pump this thing, and at the same time, if they're dumping too much, that would only mean that the team is selling in the first place. It's not going to be the great look for the project as well. We're in the bull market, so people do not expect things to like dump, and they will be buying them, so it will even require a large amount of supply to dump in the first place. And yeah, it will be very, very hard to probably push this thing up after that if they would be doing that, because they will probably have a bunch of tourists in place that they don't need to pump this thing up. I think currently what is actually happening is that these tourists that acquired bread at 0026, they're essentially selling it because they got their 2x, right? And other people like me, they're buying, seeing like a more longer term vision, probably following the same logic that I'm following as well.
How fucking right this guy is. It's just so crazy. The only thing that he was not right with is he was thinking that most of people are not pussies like him, and that most people are smart, as smart as this guy in the first place, right? But he got fooled, he got dumped in this particular situation, because most people are pussies and most people are not smart, right?
As well, because the worst FUD happened already. I don't see, like, currently bread is exposed to the same amount of risks as other things in the marketplace as well, just market reversing. So all of your tokens, they will go down if the market will reverse or correct or go like sideways for quite some time, right? And on top of it,
I have to say it held the floor very, very fucking well, because like right here BTC was at $56,000, right? And it was holding like 300 million floor. I think it was going as low as like 200 million or something. On Dex Screener we might be able to see that. And the reason it actually held the floor is because no one has the fucking supply to sell, because the team was buying out the supply essentially. And yeah, just crazy. It's just such a fucking smart thing to do actually in the first place, like to dump this on retail, to milk hundreds of millions from this market. Man, it's just one thing. You just need to focus on one thing and execute on one thing. Just so crazy.
Bread has all the things that helped it to pump already. It has crash, it has a very, very nice execution from the team. They might use Mags, who will be doing some charting as well, just leading retail to slaughter as well. They have a bunch of other influencers. They might appear on the show of CryptoBand.
Very, very important thing, like retail to slaughterhouse, right? I think they will be doing that, but we are not at the stage of the cycle where we even have retail right now, especially like right now, following the views, following activity, following the current market price action, things like that. So a very, very important thought here is that people were calling bread a scam and things like that. And the thing is that if the price is going up, it's not a scam because people are making money. My Andean Blast is more scam than bread, and it doesn't have like insiders. It's very, very organic thing, and team is not like kind of doing things that bread team is doing, right? But it actually dumped from initial 50 million market cap. Like right now we're significantly lower, right? It will go up. I'm definitely sure on that. I think it's actually $1 billion meme coin long term, and I will be working hard on this. But you have to understand these things. If the market goes up, or I'm sorry, if the number goes up, it's definitely not a scam in the first place. And people who are calling other tokens scams, if the tokens that they're pushing are going down, then their tokens are more scams than the tokens that they're calling out, right? It's very, very important for the number to go up in this market.
Banter and things like that. They still have exchanges, they have leverage, so they still have exactly the same tool set that they might be using. It's just the fact
it's crazy. I'm sharing minus $10,000 like right here. Just crazy.
It currently might be harder for some time because some people would still be calling it a scam and a bunch of insiders and things like that. But the same thing is happening on VC tokens. Essentially, you just have to win in the marketplace. If you're fighting something and if you're not in shorts, you're not making money. I have insight.
You cannot even fathom like what is the size of bullshit that is happening on the VC tokens. It's just that with memes, it's more like opened into the market, right? And with VC tokens, like the amount of bullshit that's happening there is way, way crazier than with memes.
Insights will be seen in 68k Bitcoin next week. So this is something I would just share. I just want to share it. I will not be explaining it. I have insights that...
Let's actually check if I was right. April 28, I said that we would be seeing 68 Bitcoin. It was 5th of May, right? Yeah, I don't think we actually saw 68k Bitcoin, right? Insights did not work. I'm constantly front running things. Like, I'm underestimating how much time people need to actually think, to make action on. You need to be fucking fast. So yeah, it was like 63, 5th of May. It was 64 instead of 68, so it was not 60. And 68 happened like when? It happened pretty much 21st, right? So 3 weeks later, not 1 week.
And Bitcoin will be at $68,000 next week, and that's one of the reasons I'm essentially entering this long as well, because I do think that short-term market will be doing well. Next week, once you would be seeing this target, I would be seeing what will be happening with the market.
See, I was front running there. I underestimated the pussiness and inability of seeing things for what they are, and inability for longer term thinking as well. I got appreciated in price, but yeah, it's actually quite nice that this capitulation due to time happened and this accumulation happened, because if it won't be happening, if it did not happen, it will not be pumping currently as well. They needed to scoop up more supply. If they did not do that, like it won't be at the current levels right now.
Something very, very risky from my end. I don't like my entry point. I don't like that the thing is already down more than 10% from my end.
Very, very important. Check out my emotions. Check out, it's very, very risky. I'm not liking entry point. I'm not liking this and that. I don't feel comfortable about this thing. I'm not feeling comfortable. That's exactly when you need to buy. When you're not feeling comfortable to buy. When you feel comfortable to buy, you will get wrecked. I was feeling comfortable when I was longing things last week, like this week, right? I got liquidated. This is the price that you're paying for acting when you feel comfortable.
My entry point as well. I'm holding at this stage. I do expect for this thing to go sideways for some time, as people who bought the dip, they're still stressed, because it's very, very interesting. People who bought the dip, they probably did not have enough time to think and to understand why they're essentially doing that. People who bought the dip probably bought the dip because they're just used to it. They are in the marketplace for quite some time, so they understand.
Very, very nice skill to actually be able to buy the FUD and buy the dip.
That each dip is the opportunity, but they might have not been following the project as close as I was. They might not know crash as well as I know. They might not have the insights that I might have from my end. Therefore, I think some of them are taking profits on their 2x and things like that. But something I actually want to say to some of you that would be saying that, he entered at the local top after saying the day before that he would be buying sub 100 million market cap, is that I'm very, very happy for you for your $400 buy at the local bottom. You were able to make a 2x, and you can take profits on your $800 at this stage and do very, very well moving forward. I'm solving my mistakes with money, and I understand that I'm taking on additional risks, and I'm ready to add more money if I would see that my additional risks have higher chance of unfolding. Thank you very much.
What a fucking G. What a fucking G. Wow. That was very fucking nice. And I've done what I said I would do. I'm ready to add more money if the risks would be unfolding. Risks were unfolding. I add more money, and right now I'm in profits. And very, very important thought that I said is that you can solve your mistakes with money. If you're running the business, you can always solve your mistakes with money. And in fact, you are already doing that, even if you don't know. All the expenses that you have, like unnecessary expenses, these are actually inefficiencies in the processes, in the operations, in people that you have inside the company that are already being solved with money. And if you're not fucking calculating them, it's a very, very bad thing to not do in the first place. And in business, you can always solve mistakes with money. That's why everyone should just focus on sales in the first place. With money, you can solve mistakes. Obviously, over time, you should be optimizing things. The more you optimize things, the more profits you would essentially be keeping yourself, right? And in the market as well, because leverage trading, like if you have infinite margins, right, you can just leverage trade the market and like nothing will happen to you. Even the guys that like shorted BTC at $30,000, right? If they have infinite money, they can just be adding this infinite money into the margin. Nothing bad will happen, especially as exactly that happened with me. These 174k in profits, I had to add $40,000 in margin in this thing to actually for this thing to survive, right? To not get liquidated. Let's get to the good part. Let's get to the comments. Let's make fun of all the people that did not make money from it, right? First, you made your followers selling bread so that you can buy cheaper. Did I do that? I kind of started to talk that bread is shady at 300 million market cap. And I never told you to sell. Like, and I never forced you to sell as well. I think I'm actually getting, why would you sell? Don't be jelly, work on yourself. You are more interested to eat chips when you're watching, you don't understand the content. Yeah, when I'm actually checking out the content currently, it's quite complex. Like, I have to focus on what I'm saying to actually understand the whole thing. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe I actually should be doing like more like lower level content. You call the deep and bot, like you said, Brett. This guy's a fucking G. And he's probably making money. Because even in the first video where I said that I miss Brett, I said I want to get a position into the whole thing, right? I entered a 2x long position at the dip. I wish I went heavier with leverage. Yeah, this guy probably made some money. Call him light switch Mr. Flip. You have to flip in the markets. Because it's a very, very interesting type of thought process with this video. Because a day before, I essentially published a video on I will be buying Brett under 100 million market cap. And a day later, I'm entering like 500 million market cap loan, right? Or it was like 400 million. Taking long position on a meme coin is ridiculously risky. This is something I like, and this is something I was actually thinking a lot about, because if with all my leverage trading, I get liquidated on all of the altcoins that I was actually longing, except Bitcoin, big time at this stage. And I only was able to make money from taking leverage positions, longs on meme coins, which is a very, very interesting thing in the first place. If you would actually think on that, I was only able to make money on leverage trading when I was longing meme coins. And the fact is being, because like trading meme coins is risky in the first place, it's being like perceived as degenerate by the market, by like average people. And leverage trading meme coins is like ultimate, is like degeneracy squared, right? And that's where the fucking upside is. It is where is it. Just so crazy. And you can't fucking lose. If you have margin, man, I think you just need to loan your meme coins. I'm waiting for new memes to like accept perpetuals. Just so crazy. These coins can literally swing 80% either way. It can be wiped out quite easily unless you keep adding substantial margins. Yeah, I've done that. Don't fall for the FUD. Brett going to 10 billion easy. This guy is making money. The other day you spread fear and FUD to your viewers, repeating that just one guy selling can wreck Brett. And you repeated that for an hour. Now putting Hurricane in. You're playing your viewers, man. Am I doing that? Like, I was sharing the things that I was sharing. And I believe when I was sharing them, market cap of this thing was larger. Market cap of this thing became lower and I bought. So do these guys not understand that we'd probably still buy the coins? We know how crypto works. I just had that they lie. I don't understand it fully. So do we think Brett community stone price eventually recovers from this? I like to think so. Yeah, you would be right. What about Brett? Insiders have 80% of the token. That's bullish. That's actually bullish. I bought Brett yesterday too. Liquidated. Liquidated? Not liquidated. Brett. Like, I don't see like very, very, very hate comments. Stan has the right to change his mind on an issue. The guy is pretty transparent. If he was a scammer, he wouldn't have publicized his place on Brett. He would have kept it a secret. He's publishing things because he has an intention that his followers do what he expects. Like, can my followers push the price of Brett? No, I don't think so. What do you think about Brett's dog? I think nothing. Bro, it's fantastic to have you on board, bro. Big up. Sure. Bro, Luke Bermar is in. Let's go, baby. Why did you FUD me out of 75,000 Brett yesterday? Well, if I FUD you out, I actually, in the first video at the end, I'm saying that Brett is not a scam. So I can't say I actually FUD you out. He does not think about his followers. He's using his followers only. This is very ugly. How I'm using my followers? Like, in what way? I'm just sharing plays on the market that I think are great. Sharing my actions. Most of you will never fucking share getting liquidated on $90,000. Never fucking sure. Most of you will never share the face if you're doing anything connected with crypto. I'm doing that. You might be like, I'm not feeling that much because I'm a psycho, but for an average person, it's just a crazy fucking amount of pressure in the first place to actually be doing that. I'm just having fun, you know? It's just like, I'm listening to this type of analysis, I'm getting satisfaction. I'm getting satisfaction from the things that the guy is saying and how fucking right he actually was. So crazy what the guy is saying. Summing up the whole thing, this is a great story of the FUD. This is a great story of great trade. This is just like textbook, very, very nice and recent example. I think it should be studied in the universities actually. The only thing is like entry points and closed part of the loan, which was a mistake, right? At least I have something. At least I have it. And with me closing part, it would probably be easier to hold into the long term, as I would not have this feeling that I have like too much. Let's close something. I don't have too much, right? So I need to hold. All right, this is it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Very, very interesting piece of video from my point of view. Thank you very much. I will be seeing you tomorrow.